Welcome to the Oddity Shop, where the bizarre is always on sale.
Hey there, you little oddballs. Welcome back. Or if you're new here, welcome. I just had to watch Zach pick his nose. It's really cute.
There was a countdown for the recording. I didn't know what to do. You were just staring at me.
Well, I was looking at your beautiful face.
Oh, thank you. I should have put makeup on for you since you put a full face on for me. You are looking wonderful. I wish everyone could see it.
I didn't put a full face on. I did the bare minimum for you, which I don't even have to, but I did.
Look at us living our best lives on a Saturday night.
Wow.
I mean, Thursday. These come out on Thursday.
Right. Is it December 1st?
When everyone else is hearing this, yes, it will be December 1st.
So it's like Mariah Carey's favorite day?
Absolutely.
Well, I guess her favorite day is probably Christmas, but like December is like her time to shine.
Or would it be the day after Thanksgiving?
Probably. Oh, whatever. I have a question for you.
I hopefully have an answer.
Would you rather bleed out or be set on fire?
Oh.
Me personally, I think I want to bleed out because I don't want to be burning.
I don't want to be burning either, but the second I see blood, I get lightheaded.
Yeah, but how do you think you're going to get when you smell your flesh burning?
I think probably bleed out because like the initial cut would hurt, but like I feel like once you lose so much, you just kind of lose consciousness. Where like burning, I feel like you're probably this is morbid. I'm gonna go with bleed out, but I hate the question.
This actually isn't morbid. That's a better podcast than ours.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is Oddity Shop. Welcome, guys. In case you're confused and clicked on the wrong link.
But shout out to Ash and Elena from Morbid.
They are amazing.
Okay, so you're going bleed. You're not gonna answer or what?
I'm going bleed out, but I hate it all.
I know.
Oh, gross. Okay.
Okay. Well, anyway.
What about you? Oh, you would be.
I'm gonna bleed out,
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow, super great start here. I think I'm just ready
Merry Christmas.
I'm just ready to hear your story so I can get the image of me bleeding out of my head. Thank you. What do you got today?
The Hookman legend.
Ooh. Okay, so it's like a core memory of mine. I remember being told this story at my grandma's house and like somebody like tapping on the window afterwards. It was just...
Wait, who told it to you?
We had a family friend who was living with us for a while who kind of got me started into like creepy stories when I was a kid. Oh,
I think you've actually told me this. Okay.
Yeah.
But they told you the story?
They told me the story. We were at my grandma Gladys's house on my mom's side.
Gladys!
And I just remember like then somebody like tapping on the window, and I think it was her boyfriend who was also my cousin.
What?
Long story. We don't need to get into it. Let's just hear the story.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I understood what you said. Moving on. Okay, so the Hookman is an urban legend that I'm sure most are aware of in some way. Did I just hear Smalls?
He might be crying.
I think I heard him cry.
Small cat, my roommate's cat, has been a very needy boy today. He's been loving the cuddles.
He deserves them. Okay, well, anyway. I feel like there's so many different versions, adaptations, things like that. So I find it hard to believe if somebody hasn't heard of it. Although Scott Swerka this morning was on the phone with me and he had no idea what I was talking about. So maybe Scott's the one and only. Per usual.
Not super shocking.
Okay, so the most common overview is a man with a hook for a hand attacking a couple while they're in their car and it's parked in a secluded area. Is that kind of what you were told, or maybe not, if they were just trying to scare you?
I think they were just trying to scare me.
Okay, but I feel like you've heard of that version. There's a ton of movies that portray the Hookman in some way or another. My personal favorite and one of my all-time favorite movies is I Know What You Did Last Summer. In this, there's actually a scene where the teens like recant different variations of the legend, and they're actually like arguing about it. They're going back and forth, like, no, it's this, not this. If you've watched that movie, you know what I'm talking about. But
you're gonna kill me.
I know you haven't seen it. I don't even know why I said that. I was speaking to our listeners that are better than you.
Fair. Most of them probably are.
Maybe. Anyway, so spoiler alert: in that movie, they end up getting attacked by a man with a hook for a hand. And also, we can't forget SpongeBob and the hash slinging slasher.
Oh my God. That is Hookman. I've never put that together.
Yes, it is.
I think about him quite often.
That
I actually saw
episode
during Halloween, somebody did a really cool pumpkin that looked like it. And then when it lit up like outside, you could see that it was just the dude holding the spatula.
That episode is actually kind of scary for like a kid.
Some cartoons did that. Like, there's an episode of Hey Arnold that like still haunts me to this day. The ghost on the train.
Oh,
there was some cartoon episodes that really freaked me out. Okay, back to the story. Sorry.
All right. Again, there's no way that you haven't heard of a variation of this, so that's kind of what sparked my curiosity. Is there's so many different things. Where did it come from? All right, so I'm going to kind of go through some of the different versions. Kind of the one I think that most people kind of have heard about is Lover's Escape. Nope, that's not what I meant to say. Lover's Lane version. Oh my God, just cut all of that.
We'll see what happens in editing.
Gotta cut all that shit.
Just start with start that sentence over again, if you would.
Okay. Two young lovers are parked down a secluded road or a wooded area. I feel like that's the most common. The girl starts feeling uneasy. She's not really sure why, but her date isn't taking her seriously. Probably because feelings aren't real.
Oh, unrequited love. He just probably wanted to go to make out.
Well, that's why they were there. What the couple isn't aware of, though, is that there is currently a killer on the loose. The boy, getting worried that he isn't going to get any action, speeds off angrily, again, because we don't have feelings and we don't talk about things, so the car ride home is completely silent. However, I like to think that the little shit screamed when he walked around the car to open the door for her and he saw a hook hanging from the door. I guess at least he was still polite. So that's like one version. She wants to go home because she's feeling uneasy. He's angry because he's not going to get any. He speeds home, and then there's like a hook hanging from her
like a
door
legit
handle.
Reason why she's feeling uneasy.
Correct. And again, at least he was polite. He still opened the door.
Chivalry isn't dead.
Until the Hookman kills them. Okay, so another version of the escape is almost the same, except for the pair is listening to some music, they're getting into the mood, when suddenly the radio gets interrupted with an update of a sex maniac having escaped from the insane asylum. The criminal has one majorly identifying feature: a hook for a hand.
Was he a pirate?
I know, it's so ridiculous. Okay. And then the girl rightfully freaks out and she wants to leave. Again, we have a sexually upset boy who's pissed. He finally drives her home, again in silence. And then when he gets out, that's when he sees the hook hanging from the handle. So in those two versions, the cute little lovers have their quarrel, but then they make it out alive. For some reason, there's just a hook hanging from the handle.
Yeah, that's definitely not the version I heard.
Okay. This is so this is like the version now that I'm about to tell you that I heard like some sort of variation of. Okay, so same backstory. Two young lovers are parked. This time they see this unbelievable man with a hook in a hand standing in front of their car. They try to get away. Somehow he hooks into the roof of the car. I'm really not keen on this one.
Maybe it was like a soft top Jeep.
He hooks into the car and then he continues along with them until he eventually can get in and kill them. Okay, so I know I've heard that
the hook
version.
Gives you a good grip.
Right. This is more, I feel like, what most people have heard, where the boyfriend gets murdered. So I'll condense these versions. Same backstory with the couple. Either the boy leaves the car because he has to relieve himself, the car breaks down, or they run out of gas. Whichever, he gets out to fix it, pee, or get help, she's left into the car. In almost all versions, he takes the keys. Why? Because of toxic masculinity. In one adaptation, she hears drips on the roof of the car, and in another, scratches. This is caused by either the boyfriend's blood dripping from his body hanging from the trees above the car, or his fingernails scratching the roof of the car because he's hung. Which, those are for sure what I heard, but I think it was the scratching.
That, like, what I heard was the scratching.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that from, like, when I was a kid.
And I think the scratching is much more terrifying than like blood drips. I don't know why.
Oh, absolutely. Because
it's not like an actual scratch. It's like a back and the forth, like swaying, like accidentally scratching. Ooh. It's like eerie and creepy. I just gave myself chills. Okay. Another states while the girl stays in the car, she hears banging on the roof. When she gets out, I don't know why, she sees the maniac on the roof banging her beloved boyfriend's head, like his severed head on the roof of the car.
Oh.
Or you may have heard that she's in the car and the Hookman appears in front of the car holding the head in one hand and the keys in the other.
How long did she sit in the car waiting for him to relieve himself? Because, like, to cut a head clean off.
Well, in that version, he probably went to go find somebody because their car broke down.
Gotcha.
It's just whatever you pick. All right, those are kind of the different versions. I feel like the one that, like we said, I heard the most of is him hanging from the tree above the car, which, like, how?
I mean, it's an urban legend, but I'm sure you're still going to tell me some more history, maybe?
Yeah, I just don't, I don't know. I like, the most realistic is just a psycho. Maybe he does have a hook for a hand, just like appears in front of their car and then he just like kills everybody. I can get down with that. How did he get him up above a tree and she didn't even hear any of that or cut his head off?
She was still listening to the slow jams.
Okay. So now we get into a different version of sexually active teens. So get rid of the parked car. We enter college and we now have a Hookman murdering sexually active teens. There's usually a virgin roommate that somehow ignores all the weird sounds she hears through the night.
Let me guess, she lives the longest, right?
Well, she immediately gets up the next morning to scold her non-virgin roommate. And then this is when she reads, aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light and blood written on the wall and then everybody else is dead? I think, though, it should have said, good job keeping it in your pants. Wouldn't that be so much better? Like, good job you didn't turn on the light? That's stupid.
It's just so horror movie cliche.
Well, it is a horror movie. I forgot to put which one because I've never really watched it all, but that is literally a scene in one of the movies.
Fair.
But it should say, good job keeping it in your pants. Because if you saw that written in blood and then your roommate was dead, that would be a really good scare tactic to, like, remain a virgin.
I mean, they should just replace sex ed in high school with that. The curriculum they have currently doesn't do anything anyway, so.
Okay, so again, with all these backstories, I've always wanted to know, like, where it actually came from. Like, what are all these different versions for? Apparently in folklore, in some sort of way, bloody hooks have been left on and in cars dating back to the 50s. It said the origin was to keep young people virgins, which kind of makes sense to that story. And then even the Lover's Lane, like the teens out doing whatever, like a scare tactic, if you will.
Right.
In 1960 was the first print of the story. And it was actually in a Dear Abby article that a girl from like some town wrote in the column too.
Oh, I always thought this was just like an urban legend cliche horror movie thing. This was actually in the papers.
Well, yeah. So this is what was written in a Dear Abby article. Dear Abby, if you are interested in teenagers, you will print this story. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it doesn't matter because it served its purpose for me. A fellow and his date pulled into their favorite Lover's Lane to listen to the radio and do a little necking. Which is that kissing? In the 60s, necking?
Yeah, it is, but it's just
I hate
a terrible term.
Okay. The music was interrupted by an announcer who said that there was an escaped convict in the area who served time for rape and robbery. He was described as having a hook instead of a right hand. The couple became frightened and drove away. When the boy took his girl home, he went around opening the car door for her. Then he saw a hook on the door handle. I don't think I will ever park to make out as long as I live. I hope this does the same for other kids. Do you think a girl, that had to be somebody's parent that wrote that damn thing and pretending to be a kid?
It's not just the parent. It's like the Karen PTA mom who uses scare tactics to try to make kids stay in line.
Do you feel the most powerful and beautiful with the elements of the earth around you? Do you like one-of-a-kind jewelry? Do you sometimes feel like a woodland fairy? Me too. That's why I created Holly and Hemlock, a magical shop filled with handmade wooden jewelry and metaphysical tools. Come check out our enchanting wooden wares at www.hollyhemlock.com and join us in honoring the magic and beauty of nature with each unique creation. That's www.hollyhemlock.com.
There's no way that a teen was actually really scared and wrote that in a Dear Abby.
No, absolutely not.
All right. Well, That's the first like print they say is in 1960 of the legend.
All right.
Okay, so theory of the origin aside from like a scare tactic. So we could just go with the fact that they were using this to scare all these teenagers into remaining virgins, but this is another theory. So again, kind of what we're talking about, but we've all heard of like a lover's lane. Lover's lane is a secluded area where people mostly teens make out or do the nasty.
Nothing more horrifying than that. That could be a whole story on its own.
Okay, so it's usually parking lots, backwoods, or other secluded areas. Typically, they have amazing views of the city, blah, blah, blah.
I was just going to say, it's like always like a wooded...
Overscaped, yes, like of like the lights, yeah. Okay, almost every teen movie has a scene like this. Our personal favorite is...
Grease!
You got it, baby. Okay, this is where it kind of gets, if you didn't already think this was dark, which we're kind of like more laughing about it, but this is where it actually gets kind of sad.
Serious face on.
Yeah. This brings us to Texarkana, a region of Arkansas and Texas in 1946. There were a series of unsolved attacks and murders. The crimes were targeted against couples. So between February 22nd and March 3rd, there were 5 murders and a total of 8 attacks. 4 murders and 2 attacks were at a lover's lane spot, and the 5th murder was at a farmhouse. So at this point, this leads the town into a frenzy. The townspeople basically start a witch hunt with everything aside from pitchforks and torches. They bought out all the ammunition, every sort of protection. Some teens were even trying to like use themselves as bait to lure this killer. There was a town curfew put in place, so they all had to be like shut down at a certain time. It was said that no one wanted to be caught outside at sundown. I can't imagine this, although it does feel a little pandemic-y, but like in a totally different way.
Like, yeah, the whole community coming together over something terrible, but...
Right, and just shutting everything down.
I really thought I was just going to hear, like, where this urban legend came from. I had no idea there were actual, like, Lover's Lane murders.
Right, and these string of attacks, I actually started referencing them, or referring to them as the Moonlight Murders, if you've ever heard of that. The Moonlight Murders? Okay. This definitely led me down a completely different path than what I thought I was going to be doing. With that being said, these are the awful events of the Moonlight Murders. So on February 22nd, 1946, Jimmy Hollis, who was 24, and his girlfriend, Mary Jeanne LeRae, I hope I'm saying that right, who was 19, went and they seen a movie. After, they weren't ready to be apart, so they decided to spend a little bit more time together before a curfew drop-off. And the perfect spot for that was Lover's Lane.
So they could do some necking.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Ew, I hate it. What's described as a man wearing a pillowcase over his head with holes in it to see appears. The man shows a gun and orders the couple out of the car. He pistol whips Jimmy which actually fractures his skull 3 times.
Oof.
So like that's hard, I feel like.
I mean, he knows what he's setting out to do.
Yeah. He slaps Mary, yelling at her to run. Because it's date night, though, she's wearing her heels, which cause her to fall.
Oh, no.
Which is it gives me goosebumps. No, I can't imagine. I know you can't. But like, I couldn't imagine the fact that you're like, holy shit, I could potentially run. I probably am not going to get away, but I can try. But then I have heels on.
I mean, I've put wedges on one time in my life, and I immediately fell over.
Okay. She is then sexually assaulted with a gun. I have no other words for that, so we're just going to move on. She spits at him and yells at him to just go ahead and kill me, because she's clearly a badass. Thankfully, though, an oncoming car's lights scare him away, and the couple survives.
Both of them?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Thankfully, they're okay. Well, they're not okay, but they survive.
I mean, a tactic to, I guess, fight off somebody who's going to kill you is to ask them to do it, because then you're taking the power out of the situation. So,
and they do say that, so
good on her.
Yeah, right. So March 24th, exactly a month later, or almost exactly a month later, I should say, on Rich Road in a parked car, a couple was found shot. Richard Griffey, who was 29, and his girlfriend Pollyann Moore, 17. Which, what's with these age gaps? I don't understand. Anyway, Pollyann was in the back seat and had been sexually assaulted. Near the car was a bloody path in the grass. So they think that they were killed in the grass and then brought back to the car.
Oof.
So I'm assuming that they're having a nice date night. Maybe they're like watching the stars, laying in the grass. Like, I don't know why else you'd be in the grass. I'm not sure, but
yes, only watching the stars. That's the only reason you could be in the grass.
And necking. Ew. Okay. Yeah. 3 weeks later, Betty Jo Booker, who was 15, was playing saxophone in her group. She does this every Saturday. Real quick side note, though, I don't know why all these women have 2 names.
This was the 60s, right?
40s.
40s, 50s, 60s. I feel like that was such a common, like...
40s. Yeah, 46, I guess, but it's like weird. Okay, so anyway, 16-year-old Paul Martin picked her up from her practice, which was at 1:30 a.m. That's really... Isn't that kind of late for that time?
1:30 p.m., like in the afternoon?
No, a.m.
Oh.
But this is in 1946. Are you just like... Well, I guess they don't care as much now, right? She was only 15. He picks her up. The pair decides to stop at Spring Lake Park on the way home. In the morning, they were found at North Park Road. Paul was shot 4 times. It took six hours to locate Betty Jo, and she was found 2 miles from Paul, and she was also shot. Once in the chest and once in the face.
Oh.
I know, and they're so little. May 3rd, Katie Starks, who's 37, who was upstairs in her farmhouse, she hears a gunshot. She rushes downstairs to see Virgil, her husband, 37, standing with blood pouring from his head, and then he falls to the ground dead. Katie runs to the phone, and she's shot in the face twice. These shots all came through a closed window. So he basically was just, or whoever was chilling outside the living room window.
Oh my God.
Somehow, this badass woman, who is blinded by her bloody face because she was shot in it twice, runs to the neighbor's house after she tries to retrieve her gun. So her gun was like in the living room somewhere, and she was actually crawling over to get it. And she realized that she wouldn't be able to see if she tried to aim.
She was shot in the face twice and still did all this?
This bitch ran out the back door to the neighbor's house somehow.
Good on her.
And survived.
Wow.
Okay, this debates all the murders being connected. Like, there's been debates, I should say, like, if they were all connected, but because they were all so close together and it was just such a strange phenomenon for somebody to just be, like, murdering everybody, they kind of decided that they were all connected. Ewell Sweeney's wife made some statements that linked him to the murders, but she didn't really have any proof, and so he didn't get a murder charge. He only got charges on habitual car theft and forgery. Habitual car theft.
Yeah, but still, habitual car theft is a long way from murder.
It just sounds ridiculous. What did you get it? Habitual car theft?
When you find something you're good at, keep doing it.
But then there was also an 18-year-old boy whose suicide note also confessed the murders, but there were a lot of false confessions, so they never accused anybody. Or they never, not accused anybody, what's the word?
Tried anyone?
Yeah, maybe that's what I was
Brought
thinking
charges
of.
on?
Yeah. So time passed just like that, and then the town slowly but surely moved back, and they still have no answers on who this phantom killer was or why he attacked couples. Stories and theories were told, and eventually the Hookman was brought to life. Like any high-profile cases, you know, movies were made and that depict this horrible event. It just blows my mind that we have to make something worse out of something that was already bad. Like, we didn't have to add a hook.
Yeah, but I feel like if you look at every horror movie ever, like when they're based on a real story, it's really loosely based on something that's still a terrible crime, right? But then they make it
worse.
18 times worse, yeah.
I know. So this is just a possible origin, and historians have been trying to locate the true origin of the Hookman for years. So they don't really know, but this was kind of like around that same time, and like the Moonlight Murders, then they started calling the Phantom Killer, and then that made it into the Hookman, and it's kind of like this whole thing of like the Lover's Lane and like people being out, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I feel like for that timeline, or even like until like more recently, right? Like people would use, how do you get young people to not do things you don't want them to do? You use scare tactics instead of like actual education.
True. And that is the urban legend of the Hookman and the awful Moonlight Murders.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, see, I always thought that like Hookman was just total urban legend. I was probably too young the first time I heard it to hear like the whole teenagers going out. I remember the hook scraping on the window or like the roof sort of deal.
Well, and it kind of like, I was rewatching for the probably 2000th time I Know What You Did Last Summer. And when I was rewatching that scene where they're all like going over each ones, like what they were told of the legend, I was like, this is actually really kind of interesting. Like, where the hell did this come from? And why are there so many different variations? Obviously, I know why there's so many, because people change as, like telephone.
Right, they just tell it over and over.
Yeah. But I didn't think that it was going to, unfortunately, lead me down the road of like these horrible murders that are still unsolved from 1946.
So Virgil was the only one who was like really heavily thought of, right? Do you think he maybe is the one? Was it Virgil? What was his name?
He's the one that got shot.
Oh, I thought you said he was.
No, he was his wife was the one that got shot twice in the face. No, it was Yule Sweeney.
Yule.
But there's really not a lot on him. And then they just mentioned a boy that wrote a suicide note saying he did it. But I don't know. I don't think that they have any idea.
It's probably just one of those things that you will never solve.
Which is just so sad, because so many people lost their lives, and like fairly young people. Not that that matters, but I mean, Betty was only 15.
Good Lord. I mean, just life taken too soon. But yeah, it's interesting to think that the urban legend probably came from some real life events. I mean, most of them do. Well,
yeah, that is very true. But it's like odd that you would turn maybe a pillowcase with holes in it on somebody's head to why a hook?
Also, I'm sorry, if I'm going to go out and kill somebody and like cut holes into a hood I'm putting over my face, the last thing I'm using is a pillowcase that's going to be shifting around.
Well, there is a movie, and I was going to write it down. I totally forget. Let me look it up. And it's about the Moonlight Murders.
I feel like there was an American Horror Story season 2 that started that way. Like the Lover's Lane, and then a clown comes up.
Maybe. I'm trying to... Oh, The Town That Dreaded Sundown is what it's called. And he has like almost what looks like I guess it is kind of a pillowcase, but it almost looks more like a burlap sack on his head with holes cut out.
Yeah, I'm kind of like picturing like Scarecrow from Batman or something.
Yeah, that's kind of what this more so looks like. And I have not watched this movie, and I don't think I want to. It looks really scary. So yeah, that's that. Hopefully you can sleep at night.
I mean, as long as I don't hear any scraping my walls, which now with the squirrels being gone.
Hash-slinging slasher don't get ya.
Oof. Spatula in hand and all.
That was terrifying.
It was, as a kid. That and that Hey Arnold episode, man.
I'm going to have to watch that Hey Arnold.
I will send it to you. It is... Like, they keep trying to say that the train is haunted, and you think it's just, like, kids messing around, but at the end they, like, show the ghost on the train, and it just, like, it used to give me chills as a kid.
Yeah. So do you know what? Did you ever watch Boy Meets World? I know it's not a cartoon.
I did, but, like...
There is this episode that it's the same things for me. Haunts me to this day, because it was, like, deep AF. And it was like, I think it was one of their Halloween specials. But basically, it's like everybody, I think they're in college at this point, they are. And everybody's getting murdered, okay? And it's like Sean, who's the best character, is left. And then you find out that it's actually Sean that murdered everybody. And I think it was like his dream. And
Okay, I was going to be like, wow, it took a dark turn.
It was really dark, though, because there's all these different reasons as to why he killed everybody. Like, and it was all his inner demons and feelings to everybody. And like, it was deep.
That's
dark.
Too deep for a family sitcom.
Right? And I know that they were in college, so they probably thought their audience was like a little bit older, but still, that was deep. And I still think about it to this day. So there's that.
Wow. Well, stay tuned, everyone. We can keep talking about things that still haunt us now that we're old. Oh, I hate thinking about it. Good job, dude, though. As always, appreciate it.
No problem.
As always, let us know your thoughts. If you've heard different versions of the Hookman story, we would...
Yeah, let us know. And subscribe, like, comment, do all those things. I know we haven't asked yet, but we would really appreciate it. If you find yourself coming back and listening to us, just give us 5 stars.
Give us a little love.
Hit the little... Is it a bell icon? Or is that just on YouTube? Just
That's
hit that
YouTube,
little
dude.
icon, to subscribe, write a little review. Just be like, Zach's cute. It's fine, whatever. Even if it's bad, give us the bad one. We'll take the criticism.
We'll get better. We appreciate you.
We'll get badder?
Better, not better.
You said we'll get better. You are a bad bitch. I don't know if you could get better.
Oh, thank you. Don't make my ego too big. Bid now? I can't talk, apparently.
Okay, so yeah, do all the things and creep it real, you little oddballs.
Yeah, oddballs. Bye.
Bye.
Shop.